You wake up, and before your body even fully moves, your hand reaches for your phone, not because you decided to, but because it's already decided for you. The habit is faster than your awareness. Notifications waiting, messages, short videos, endless content already lined up, and within seconds, you're scrolling, not thinking, not choosing, just consuming, telling yourself it's harmless, just a few minutes, just easing into the day. But in that exact moment, something important already happened. You avoided effort. You delayed resistance. You chose comfort before you chose control. And that single decision, repeated every morning, is shaping your identity in ways you still haven't fully understood. And you didn't even notice it. That's how it starts. Not with failure, with comfort. Because nothing feels wrong. And that's the trap. You're not in pain, you're not failing, you're not falling behind in a way that scares you. Stop for a second. Think about yesterday. Now be honest. You already know this is true. You're functioning, you're getting through the day. You're doing enough to convince yourself things are fine. But underneath that surface, something is quietly breaking down. Your ability to stay, your ability to endure, your ability to focus when it's inconvenient, your ability to act when you don't feel like it. And it doesn't disappear all at once. It fades, slowly, silently, until one day, you sit down to do something important, and you can't stay with it long enough to finish. Now here's where it gets worse. You sit down to work. Maybe you even feel motivated for a moment. Maybe you tell yourself, this time I'll focus. This time I'll lock in. This time will be different. But within minutes, your hand moves again. Not consciously, just automatically. You open a new tab, check something irrelevant, scroll for just a second, and that second turns into 5 minutes. 5 turns into 15, and suddenly the task you were about to do feels heavier than before you started. And here's the part that should bother you. You knew it was happening. You felt it. You noticed yourself leaving the task. And you didn't stop it. That's the moment. That's where control was lost. Not when you started scrolling. When you realized you were, and kept going. And you've done this before. More times than you want to admit. You said just 5 minutes. You lost an hour. You said, I'll start after this. You didn't. You said this time will be different. It wasn't. And you know it. You don't even argue with that anymore. That's the problem. Now here's where it tightens. You don't just repeat the pattern. You expect it. You sit down already knowing you're going to get distracted. You open your phone already knowing you'll lose time. You start already expecting to stop. And expectation becomes behavior. Behavior becomes identity. That's the loop. And here's the part that should hit harder than anything else. You don't have a time problem. You have a moment problem. You're not losing your life in hours. You're losing it in seconds. 10 seconds of checking. 10 seconds of scrolling. 10 seconds of avoiding. Again, and again, and again. And it adds up. And you didn't even notice it. Now it spreads into everything. You're watching something, and halfway through you grab your phone. You're eating, and you can't do it without scrolling. You're in a conversation, and your attention drifts. You check notifications mid-sentence. You're walking, and you need stimulation. You're in the gym between sets, and instead of staying focused, you scroll. You can't just exist without input. And you know this. You felt it. That urge. That pull. That need to escape the moment you're in. And you follow it. Almost every time. Now here's where it gets worse. You open your phone to check one thing. You forget why you opened it. You switch apps, scroll, refresh, look for something, not even sure what. And 10 minutes later, you feel slightly worse, not terrible, just off, just enough to notice. And then you do it again. That's the loop, and you're not even enjoying it. That's the part no one wants to admit. You're not entertained, you're not fulfilled, you're just occupied. That's conditioning. Now stack another layer. You watch videos like this. You feel motivated. You feel clarity. You feel like something clicked. You tell yourself, this is it. I'm done wasting time. I'm going to change. I'm going to take control. I'm going to be disciplined. And for a moment, you believe it. You actually believe it. Then the video ends. You pick up your phone, open another app, scroll again, and nothing changes. You've done that before, more than once, more than you want to admit, and you know it. That's one of the most dangerous loops that exists, because it gives you the feeling of progress without requiring action. You feel like you're improving, but your behavior stays the same, and behavior is what matters. Now here's another one. You plan your day. You say, today I'll be productive. You even write it down. You sit down. You start. You get distracted. You restart. You get distracted again. You switch tasks. You check something. You come back. And by the end of the day, you feel busy, but nothing meaningful got done. And you know that feeling, that quiet frustration, that internal voice that says you wasted the day, but you don't want to admit it. So you lie to yourself. You say tomorrow will be different, and it isn't. You've done that before, too. Now it spreads further. You say you'll go to the gym. You delay it. I'll go later. Later becomes tomorrow. Tomorrow becomes next week. And every time you delay, something small breaks. Not your routine, your identity, because you said you would do something and didn't. And after enough repetitions, you stop believing your own words. You stop trusting your own plans. You stop expecting yourself to follow through. And once that happens, everything becomes harder. Because now it's not just discipline you lost, it's self-trust. And without that, nothing sticks. Now another layer. You avoid conversations you know you need to have. You delay messages that matter. You put off decisions that require clarity. You know what needs to be done, but you don't do it. And that creates pressure, but instead of facing it, you escape it. Scroll, watch, distract, and the pressure stays. It builds, quietly, until it turns into stress. And you call it anxiety. But it's not. It's avoidance. And you know it. Now here's where most people completely lose control. They don't just stay in the loop, they start defending it. I just need the right time. I work better under pressure. I'm just tired. I'll start when things calm down. Protection for the very behavior that's holding you back. Because as long as you can explain it, you don't have to fix it. And that's dangerous, because now you're not just stuck, you're choosing to stay stuck. And once you protect the behavior, it becomes identity. Now it gets even more subtle. You sit down to do something difficult. Immediately you feel resistance. Not pain, just discomfort. And instead of recognizing it as part of the process, you interpret it as a signal to stop. So you switch tasks. You take a break. You check your phone. You tell yourself you'll come back to it, but you don't. And that moment, that exact moment of discomfort, that was the moment that would have changed you. And you walked away from it again. You've done that before. You felt the resistance. You knew what you needed to do, and you didn't do it. And you know it. Now multiply that. Every time something gets hard, you leave. Every time something gets boring, you escape. Every time something requires effort, you delay. And over time, You become someone who cannot handle friction. And life is friction, which means you're training yourself to fail in the exact moments that matter most. Now stack another layer. You don't just avoid big things. You avoid small ones too. You see a message you need to reply to. You delay it. You need to make a call. You put it off. You need to organize something. You ignore it. And each one feels small, but they stack. They create mental clutter. Open loops in your mind. Things you know you should do, but haven't done. And those loops drain you. You feel tired, but you didn't do anything. You feel overwhelmed, but nothing actually happened. And that's confusing until you realize it's everything you avoided. Now here's the deeper truth. You're not just losing time. You're losing your ability to trust yourself. And without that, nothing works. Because discipline is built on trust, and you've been breaking it daily. Now answer this honestly. Who are you becoming if nothing changes? Not who you want to be, not who you imagine. Who you're becoming, based on what you repeatedly do, because that's the truth. Your future is built on patterns, and your patterns are clear. Scroll, delay, avoid, repeat. Scroll, delay, avoid, repeat. And that pattern has a destination, and you already know where it leads. Now here's where it hits. If nothing changes, this is your life. More distraction, more delay, more avoidance, more unfinished things, more frustration, more knowing and not doing, and eventually, you stop expecting more from yourself. That's the final stage, not failure, acceptance. You accept less, you expect less, you become less, and it happens slowly enough that you don't fight it. Now here's the truth most people won't say directly. You don't have a discipline problem. You have a comfort addiction. And addiction doesn't look extreme. It looks normal. It looks like scrolling, like delaying, like avoiding. But it controls you. And controlled people don't build strong lives. They react. They drift. They stay stuck. Marcus Aurelius had everything most people think they want: power, wealth, control, and still he warned himself daily not to become soft, not to fall into ease, not to forget what he was meant to do, because he understood something most people ignore. A comfortable life creates a weak mind if you don't resist it. And right now, you're not resisting it. You're feeding it. Every scroll, every delay, every escape. Now, here's the shift. The moment you stop escaping, everything changes. The moment you feel discomfort and stay with it, you break the loop. The moment you resist the urge, you take control back. The moment you finish what you start, you rebuild trust in yourself, and it starts small. You wake up, and you don't reach for your phone. You feel the urge, and you don't follow it. You sit in silence, and you stay. You start the task, and you don't interrupt it. You feel discomfort, and you don't escape. And at first, it feels wrong, because you've trained the opposite. But then something shifts. You last longer. You focus deeper. You build momentum. And momentum changes everything. Because once you build it, you don't want to lose it. That's the new loop. Discomfort leads to action. Action builds momentum. Momentum builds identity. And identity changes everything. Now, You're not someone who avoids. You're someone who acts. And that shift is everything. Seneca practiced this deliberately, choosing discomfort even when he didn't need to, not to suffer, but to remind himself that comfort was not necessary, that he could function without it, that he was not dependent on it. Because once you don't need comfort, you can't be controlled by it. And that's power, not controlling your environment. Controlling yourself within it. Most people won't do this. They will stay in the loop, scrolling instead of building, avoiding instead of acting, consuming instead of creating, repeating instead of evolving, and they will live like that for years, comfortable, distracted, stuck. But a small group chooses differently. They choose resistance. They choose effort. They choose discipline when comfort calls. And over time, that choice compounds. They become sharper, more focused, more stable, harder to break, because their strength was built, not given. So now the question becomes unavoidable. Where are you choosing comfort when you should be choosing effort? Where are you escaping instead of acting? Where are you delaying instead of deciding? Because that is where your weakness is, and that is exactly where your growth is. If you're done being controlled by comfort, subscribe to the Stoic Code. Not for motivation, for discipline. Now prove it. Comment. Discipline over comfort. Not as words, as a decision. And if you know someone stuck in this loop, send them this. They won't like it, but they need to hear it. Tomorrow is coming. The moment will be there again. Your hand will move, like it always does, and you already know what you're going to do. The real question is, will you finally change it, or prove this meant nothing? This is the Stoic Code. See you in the next video.